Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, stories from the 78. It's the holiday season here in the big city. Everybody walking around with their peppermint mocha, hot chocolate. There's all these beautiful shows that are coming to the city. And one of the OGs, one of the most prolific shows ever to come through the holiday season is the Nutcracker. It's going to be at the Lyric Opera House this holiday season. I'm talking to Shandy Vaughn, who is the Joffrey Ballet production manager, so she gets all the ins and outs, behind the scenes stuff of this wonderful performance. How you doing, Shandy?
I'm doing great, Tom. How's it going for you?
Good. I think I've had too much coffee today, so I'm going a little fast. I'll slow it down a little bit. But um, how you've been with the Joffrey for how many years now?
It's been 2 years, but it's actually my third Nutcracker.
Yeah, your third Nutcracker, and each
Yes.
season about 27 performances. Is that ish?
Yeah, that's kind of the sweet spot of what we figured out is kind of the best way to work around the holiday season. So it's nice, even, say even, but it feels pretty even for the holiday season. Just like, oh, cool, it's 27 shows.
And the Nutcracker that we're referring to has a Chicago theme with it, with the World's Fair from 1893, and this beautiful story that is told throughout. But you have this remarkable aspect of it, I feel, just because a lot of people are always fascinated with, like, the actors and the performers and all the things that go on in movies or plays or musicals or ballets. But there's so much going on that people don't see, and the production managers, producers, they see all of that. They are in charge of it. They keep it going. They keep the thing on the tracks, right, and keep it going down the way there. And that's kind of your purview, being the production manager. You're behind the scenes. You're in the wings. You're doing all that. Can you walk me through what that means, and the viewers who are watching?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I actually used to be a stage manager for so many years, and I've been a production manager maybe the last like 8 or 9 years at this point. I like to think of it as kind of the center of a web of communication, kind of operating a little bit like 30,000 feet above. I'm looking at the production as a whole and trying to see, hey, how can I pull off a vision? How can we make a fantastic show happen for an audience, that comes and sees our show? And like the goal is like this show is going to look so polished that every single time you see it, even though it is live, the audience is still going to get the same show. So that is such a huge part of what I do, from making sure that everything is happening from a scenic standpoint, lighting standpoint, making sure that it's still snowing at the right time, making it such a magical experience. There's just a lot that goes into it.
How many moving props would you say happens throughout a performance? And the performance is how long? Just to give people an idea who may have never been to the Nutcracker before, or at least the Joffrey Ballet version. How long are you on when this performance is happening?
Yeah, so I mean, it runs about, I believe this one's an hour and a half. I think if you want to call it with an intermission, probably roughly around two. It's
Hmm.
what we would consider a quicker ballet. And it's just told in the two acts. The first one's kind of the really magical part. You're following this story all the way up into the beautiful snow scene before the kind of dream sequence that happens for the second half of it. So anytime that I am on, I'm not necessarily at every single show, but I will be at quite a few of them just to make sure that things are going smoothly. So
Right.
usually I'm there with the crew from whenever they get there, usually about an hour and a half before the performance, to make sure everything gets set up to the very end. 'Cause sometimes we'll bring people backstage for backstage tours. We want to make sure that we can fly the curtain out, they can take cool photos, and just even meet some of the cast members.
And that all kind of has to be coordinated, at least with your knowledge, or all through you, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it. Certainly
Right.
takes an army to do so. But yeah, our management team that I work with, I've got a company manager that I work with, got another manager and administrator I work with, and my general manager. So kind of with all of our powers combined, we pull this all off. In addition to all of the artistic staff that you can imagine, Ashley Weeder, our artistic director. We also have three rehearsal directors who are maintaining the ballet throughout the entire run that we're in Nutcracker. In case a dancer gets injured, we need to make a cast change. They're there to kind of make those quick decisions.
Well, that was my next question. You probably see things, and by design, most people don't see the things that you see. Like when you just mentioned somebody who might have gotten hurt, m- you know, the unless it's something pretty obvious. there are moments probably where people might not even notice it. And that's kind of the whole idea, right? You don't want people to know everything that's going on, especially behind the scenes,
Hmm.
because that takes away from the story of the ballet or whatnot, right? So, like,
Yes.
do you like walk me through like something like you have all these props on stage, right? You have
Hmm.
the Nutcracker dolls that you have to kind of coordinate between and all that stuff, special effects. That's got to be difficult though. I mean, I imagine to the average person a little overwhelming.
Yeah, sure. Well, so what's really unique about getting ourselves up to that opening night is getting the opportunity for the cast to be on stage, for us to do a couple dress rehearsals. We've got a full orchestra as well, and so there's a lot of things that you probably don't think about. Those tempos matter because you're dancing and you're doing those counts. So making sure that the orchestra is not playing too fast is hugely important to make sure that things are going smoothly. And it happens. I mean, we'll do tempo changes and making sure that things are going well. Um, but yeah, so those days that we're leading up, we're actually setting up the full production. We're putting everything that you're seeing up in the air, hanging every single drop. There's motors in the show that control certain scenery. There are snow drums that are working. And then, of course, like the lighting, we've got spot ops that are doing their job. Just about everything that you can think of that you're seeing does take a certain amount of rehearsal. Now, we do it pretty quickly. We get in on Monday and we open on Friday, but those tend to be kind of longer hours just so that we've all had a chance to kind of basically work everything out so that you're not coming and seeing any sort of mistake on stage.
Right, which I mean, it's in itself daunting process for sure. But you, this particular run is at the Lyric Opera House in Chicago, which
Mhm.
is at 20 North Wacker Drive and Upper Wacker. Let's be
Mhm.
clear.
It's true.
Can't miss it though. It's kind of a giant building, but that is a massive house. So I
Mhm.
imagine doing any kind of show in there is just kind of fun because of the history there, the size of the room. I mean, what's that like for you on opening night? Like, what's the cast feeling? What are you feeling as the production manager who's kind of in charge of this behemoth of a show that is legendary?
Yeah. Well, so exciting is that like by the time that we're opening, it feels great. I kind of just get to pass it off to my team and I go, all right, it's your show. Make it happen. This is what we've been kind of practicing for. Being at the Lyric is extremely special because, like you said, there's so much history to it. It's such a regal house. I think it only made sense for us, like the Joffrey, to do our full program there. So we do 4 shows a year and we get to be at the Lyric Opera House for, I think this seats around 3,500 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's astounding from the moment you walk in as an audience member and you're just in that beautiful lobby to walking into the house to find your seat. It feels really incredible to be there. And the people over at the Lyric Opera are getting to work with the crew, and I've got like some counterparts I work over with. It's a really great relationship, and what makes Nutcracker more special is that we get to be sat down for a while. So the fact that it's running for 27 shows instead of just 2 weekends, you feel like you can get into a nice groove, which is
Yeah. So opening night, it's 5 minutes before curtain. Like, where are you at? Walk me through that process. Like, what is in what's that moment like for you? I imagine that never gets old, right? 5 minutes before the opening of a show.
yeah. Normally, at 5 minutes before the show, we've called places. So my stage management team has already got all the dancers on stage. We're all kind of standing in the wings, congratulating each other. I'm just getting really hyped up, ready for the show. Usually on opening night, I'm watching from the front of house, so I'm kind of moving a lot from the lobby back to back of house. Usually at intermission as well. I kind of just floating around, making sure everything's going well. But also, I love being in the lobby to feel the excitement of the audience getting ready, getting their snacks, getting their drinks, getting ready for the show, and because the Nutcracker is so family friendly, there's so many kids around, and it's just
Mhm.
really cool to see them experience it maybe for the first time.
Do you have a favorite part of the show that you look forward to more than others? Not to say that nothing's worth looking forward to, but
Yeah.
everybody's got that special moment of their favorite play,
Hmm.
ballet, movie, story, what have you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, gosh, I'm a sucker for snow. At least when it's really pretty.
Yeah,
I
for
grew up,
sure.
I grew up on the in Arizona, so being around the mountains was always something I loved. And so, yeah, the end of Act One is really pretty. I really love the snow scene. It is one of the bigger numbers that includes a lot of kids that are dancing, itty bitty snowflakes that are dancing with our main company. So it feels it feels really magical because you're also watching like kids that are maybe 5 years old getting to dance on stage with our company artists. Snow is trickling down. You've got this very recognizable music. And we also usually will have children's choirs actually sing in the pit with the orchestra as well. So it just feels like one of the most involved pieces in the entire
Oh, that just sounds like Christmas wrapped up in a bow, doesn't it?
show. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For for people who are up and coming in the theater world and doing this, is there a time, and just in general, people who are wondering, is there times when you're in the show, right? You mentioned that you are at the front of house in the lobby or back or wherever in involved in the show in some way, right? Is
Yeah.
there a time though where you see something going on the show where perhaps maybe the band is going a little too fast for the dancers, where you have to make a like an executive call and be like, "Hey, we need to slow it down, or we need to speed it up, or it's really hot in here. Why isn't the AC cranking?" Like, I imagine you have to deal with a lot of that stuff that people like. But you know what I mean? Like just everyday
Yeah.
stuff in a show like that. I imagine that's got to be
hmm
tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, I've been doing for a long time. It does kind of come as naturally as breathing at times. I have an incredible stage management team that they're calling every light cue. So every time you're seeing a light cue shift, they're calling at that right time. So as far as running the show, I don't really have to worry too much about it. I don't like to get in the way of my crew's flow too. I want to make sure that they're doing everything on time. They don't need anyone sitting there micromanaging them. But normally I will come check in after act one, or especially at the end of the show. If anything broke, if there's anything crazy that happened that I need to make sure that we can get fixed for the next show, that's kind of what I'm really kind of like jumping into. But a good point about the HVAC system, because actually our dancers, in order to make sure that their bodies are staying warm, they require a certain temperature range to dance. So yeah, quite often we get the, oh my gosh, it's so cold in here, or it's so breezy. We need more heat. And so a lot of times I do kind of have to make those calls and be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna adjust that. Don't worry, we got you.
What in all your years of doing what you do, is there a time that sticks out that is just one of the most odd things or one of the things that you're most proud of? Because I feel like I've done a lot of, with the director of the ballet, or the main person for a movie, the head actor, but it's rare that I get to talk to people that are behind the scenes, and that's kind of where I lived my entire career, being
Yeah.
in the TV stuff. I'm the producer, so I'm on the side. I'm making sure
hmm
everything is working, similar but not the same, obviously, to what you do. But we have this unique aspect to see things, and sometimes, sometimes better than not to see it versus everybody else. But is there anything that stands out to you that maybe it's not even with the Joffrey, but just in your career as doing what you do? Is there something that has stood out to you that just kind of just you can't put that one on LinkedIn, but you wish you could?
Oh gosh, one of my favorite things was when I was working in theaters for preview nights. So we'd still invite a invite the audience to come watch. We do like four previews, and then maybe opening would be on that like Thursday or Friday. So we could still consider them rehearsals. And so when I was an equity stage manager, I was in the booth doing everything that I just mentioned my team does, making sure all the cues are happening when they need to, making sure that my team is still good backstage. There was a moment during this preview, which was a 90-minute show with no intermission. And there's a very pivotal moment where this actor had to go into like the restroom on this set. He had gotten really excited when he was doing his fight choreography. It was the first preview, first audience. He was taking a lot of that energy in,
Yep.
and he hit the door so hard that there was no way that the door was going to open, and that door needed to open. It was so pivotal before that next scene, because it was thriller, that I was like, there's no way. If I stop the show right now, this is going to ruin everything. And it's a rehearsal. We're doing a preview. It's fine.
That's what it's for,
So
right?
that's what it's for, right? So I called hold, and we had to go out and we fixed it real quick. I mean, it was fixed in a matter of minutes. But the audience, the people who do come to see those first previews or second previews, they're there for that, right? They're looking for like, oh, am I going to get to see how the sausage gets made? And sure enough, we were able to start again seamlessly, and the show was able to go on and have that same momentum. We didn't like give away that secret, because this moment would have been ruined. But that always will stand out as something very, like, I don't know, that one I can't quite let go of. Where I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, it's such a minor thing that they don't know at that moment was preserved, because I was like, okay, I have to stop it. It sucks to stop a show, but I'm going to still make it so that this thriller will still make the audience feel the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what you do and the folks that have your position are kind of the unsung heroes of like live, shows like this because it, you got to be pretty good at what you do to do something to the level that you're doing it at. So that's awesome in itself. And the fact that you get to do it with the Joffrey, but you remember those moments in your life where you think back, you're like, man, oh man, how did I? Ah, that was interesting, and
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
glad I did it. I'm glad it happened on that particular set and that particular show. It's prepared me for here, which I imagine you've seen it all at this point in your career to do something where you're prepped. I mean, I shouldn't say see it all because there's always another thing that could
Oh,
happen, but
something else, right?
yeah, but I mean, you said this is your third year with the Joffrey doing the Nutcracker here in Chicago. So at least, and you got the show is about to start, about to launch here on the 6th. So uh, I'm sure you're well preserved and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, yeah, this Saturday we load up our trucks. This another really weird fun fact for you, maybe not so fun, but this Nutcracker is so big, it fits in 6 53-foot semis.
I did not know
So
that.
it's one of those semis fits all of the wardrobe because there's so many costumes in it, and then every single set piece, everything that you're going to see on stage. I mean, maybe not all the lighting. There's a lot of stuff that we do rent, from the lyric, but it's crazy to think that all that show fits in those many trucks. Because then the Monday after Thanksgiving is when, yeah, I should look at my calendar here. Yeah, that's when we're going to be loading in, starting at 8 a.m., getting going. Um, but yeah, it feels good. We're really excited to be ramping up to this moment. We're all really happy around the tower here. I'm on the fourth floor of the Joffrey Tower, so I'm actually just steps away from the rehearsal studios. So, and I just hear Nutcracker music just playing through the halls right now. So, all
And for
very
the
magical.
folks that don't know, that tower is pretty much at like State and Lake, right? Like right in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
general area where you're down the street from the Chicago Theater and right outside of Theater District, right, in that whole area. But
exactly.
uh on a diagonal from the old State Lake building that is
Mhm.
now where ABC 7, I believe, is. But either way, a lot of theater history in that area and the Joffrey
Mhm.
Tower. Um, and that's where you get to call home. And so I appreciate you taking time to chat with me from
Of
your
course.
office at this busy time. But you got 27 shows running through December. What's the best way for people to get tickets? Is there a site for Joffrey, or they should go to Lyric, or how's that whole thing work?
Absolutely. Yep. You just want to go to joffrey.org. It's going to be one of the first things you see on the site. There are tickets ranging. I think 36 is the lowest price point. But there are so many tickets available. Bring your families, like bring your kids. It's really fun and it's really special. And because it's Chicago centric, you're going to see a Nutcracker like you probably haven't seen before in your life.
Right. And anybody that's a fan of the 1893 World's Fair, you're going to be in for a treat for sure. Uh,
Absolutely.
Shandy, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. I do appreciate it. And break a leg with the run of the show you have coming up here in Chicago.
Great. Thank you so much, Tom.